at that age, Ellis, it really is not very important anymore. But instead of me going on and on, how about I let Ellis share with you his investing story? Help me welcome one of our, I'm not going to say one of our oldest investing friends, but help me welcome I call him the king in the industry, and he'll tell you more. Help me welcome Mr. Ellis Traub, who is wearing a score shirt, and he'll tell you a little bit about that. Welcome to the show, Ellis. Good evening.
It's nice to be here with you. We've been promising a lot of lunches back and forth all these years, and we don't get to do it very much.
That is correct. Absolutely, absolutely. So share with us, how did all of this get started for you, Ellis?
For me, well, it really started, my investing story started way back in 1972 or 3 or 4. That was long before I discovered what was NEIC and now Better Investing. And in those days, I was an airline pilot and making a pretty good income. And so I wanted to, I didn't have enough money saved for my kids to go to school. So I tried to find out how I could do a better job investing. And I made the first mistake of my investing career by asking a broker how I should improve my investing or how I should start. And he told me that the best thing this was an election year, mind you, and in those days, I was told that I should find a hot stock and invest in it and put everything I got in it and do it until the middle of that year. And then I should get out before election because the incumbents were going to do all they could to keep the economy up. And so I invested in a single stock. Already you can figure out about 5 or 6 different mistakes I made, but I was told to invest in a single stock. I don't remember what it was, but somebody's squealing there.
Yeah, no, I know.
Anyway, I put all my eggs in that basket, and about halfway through the summer, half of Wall Street and I found out that we made a mistake, and so I lost everything, including my everything except for my house and my car. And of course, I was lucky I had a good job, but I had all the payments to make on my house and all the payments to make on my car. And so I lost everything for all practical purposes. And the truth was, it scared me out of the stock market for the next 15 or 16 years or more, in my most productive years. So here I was at age 56, 7 or whatever. That would have made it 1987. You must have concluded now I'm an old guy. I was born in 1930, so I'll be 90 in September. In any case, I retired from the airline, and when I took my retirement, which I did in lump sum, I decided that I was going to do it right this time. So I got a hold of a team, and the team was consisted of my broker, who was a lot better broker than the one I first talked to, and my accountant, and they both were professionals, they said, and so my method was that I was going to ask one of them what I should do about a stock, and then I would be able to listen to how they figured out what a good stock would be. And the way it actually went was John would call, I'm trying to remember his name, but it's not important. John, the broker, would call my accountant, Bill Ritter, it was his name. And you say, Bill, Ellis says he thinks he's looking at this stock. What do you think? He said, it looks pretty good to me. And so that was all that happened. I didn't learn anything. And at the end of about a year and a half, I sat down with an Excel spreadsheet and looked at my statement, and I could see that in another 9 years, I'd be living under a bridge, which wasn't good. So serendipitously, what happened was that was on a Saturday, and on Sunday morning, I read a column by the financial editor for the Miami Herald, who said that there was going to be a seminar up in Fort Lauderdale. I lived in Miami at the time. That was given by NEIC, and they taught investors how to invest successfully. So I went up to Fort Lauderdale and I sat there for 4 hours. You can imagine Phil Keating was the Phil. God bless him. He, as far as I know, he's still doing it. He's just a wonderful guy. He's my mentor, and I owe everything I learned about investing to him. But anyway, I sat through 4 hours of him looking around me, and here was all this. A class full of people that were from all walks of life. They weren't professionals. They weren't financial people. They were little old ladies in tennis shoes and kids and just the cross section of Americana. I thought, well, heck, if they can do it, I can do it. So I sat there. And so week after week, I went to these sessions and I learned enough to where I started pitching in and helping other people when they came. And the next thing I know, I'm a volunteer. And as a volunteer, I started holding sessions and helping other people. And before I knew it, why I was being invited all over the country to help other chapters and talk to them.
Wow.
Even Alaska. I went to Alaska. It was just an unreal experience. So I had a wonderful time. And of course, the best way to learn things is to teach it. And so that's what got me going. And to make a long story short, and it's probably too late already, I learned enough about how to invest so that I was able to get back what I lost in my retirement fund. And over the next 15, 20 years or whatever, a lot of good things happened. I wrote a book, and it was edited. It's in its third edition now, although it hasn't been out there for a long time. But I guess the local chapter is still using it for a textbook. And I started a software company in order to implement the methodology. And by that time, I think I made a few improvements on it. And so I sold that company. It was successful, sold it in 2003. And I've been retired ever since, pretty much. Now, I mean, that really is about the story. I guess people are still using the software.
Yes.
And I know that the chapters are still in it. So I think, though, probably the best contribution I made to that organization was helping people simplify how they learned. Because when I started out, it was so complicated. And people were teaching not only the concepts, but the specifics and all the steps you had to take and all that stuff. And they were doing it all at once. And it's like taking a big pitcher and trying to pour it into a Coke bottle. I mean, you'd sit there for an hour, you listen to this, and the next thing you know, the hour was over, you're shaking your head, well, what did I learn? Didn't learn much of anything. So you go to the next meeting and you try and pick up some more, and you just keep going and keep going. And it was frustrating. So I came up with another method that all it did was it taught the same stuff, but it taught it in a different order. It started out with the concepts, which were easy enough. I could give you the concepts, basic concepts, in the space of this broadcast. It only take about 5 or 10 minutes, or maybe a little more, but that's it. Very simple. The concepts were so simple, in fact, that by the time you got around to teaching people the things that they had to do rather than what they had to think, why, it all made sense. And so the next thing you know, people were being able to other people within just a couple of days, a couple of sessions. And so I think that if I had a contribution to make, I'd say that's probably the most important contribution I made to that organization over the years. So I think I've said enough. That's that's enough about my story. I hate to talk about me. I'd much rather talk about you. Of
Well,
course.
I would tell everybody that I think that Ione McNeill and myself and our family is another contribution that you made in your investing journey, because quiet as it's kept, and I'll, this is a very short story, but I met Ellis. Gosh, when I moved into the neighborhood, Ellis lived one door from us, but I really didn't really meet Ellis until years later, as I was leaving a hotel conference that I was hosting and walked by a sign that said Better Investing. And our mastermind group was talking about starting an investment club, and fate and God would have it that the club we were talking about wanting to start was downstairs. And Ellis Traub was hosting that session. You may not remember this, but Ione was a second grader. She may not remember, but I remember it very clearly because as we were leaving the hotel, we eased in the back. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was an Edge of Fair day, and we were having a conference there at a Marriott in Fort Lauderdale. And as we were leaving the hotel, we eased in and sat in the back. And Ione kept saying, "Mommy, I know that man. I know that man." I said, "Ione, please, what does she know?" And she said, "No, Mommy, I know that man. I know that man." And I said, "Ione, please." Of course, I didn't recognize you then, Ellis. And as you finished the program and you were walking down the hall, I never shared the story with you, and Ione may not remember it, but I remember so clearly as you were walking down, you said, "Ione, what are you doing here?" And Ione said, "I'm here with my mom." And that was the beginning of me really getting to know you, Ellis. And I would tell the world, Ellis and the Better Investing Volunteers, it was called NAIC at the time, the National Association of Investors Corporation, the group of volunteers came and helped us start an investment club at our church, at New Birth Baptist Church. I don't remember what year that was, Ellis. It may have been like early 90s or something like that. And oh,
Perhaps.
wow.
Yeah,
I don't remember, Ellis. I just remember Ione was like a second grade or something like that. And that began our better investing journey, and our journey with you, Ellis, and Irwin, and so many other volunteers. And that's really what's driving us to do this show, this podcast, this broadcast, this Facebook Live, this Zoom recording, because what you've taught us, and I don't know if everybody can see this, but I have Ellis's book here. What Ellis is called Take Stock. And we'll put the ISBN number in the chat. But what Ellis, what I wanted to do is really thank you as publicly as I can. And Ione's on, and we're going to ask her to come on. And we're going to ask all of our listeners if you have any questions, because you have a lot of well wishers on between Facebook and Zoom and Blog Talk and all of that. We apologize that if we don't get to your question, we're going to have Ellis on again, a lot of other people, because we really want to let people know, Ellis, how simple it is. And that's what you were wrapping up with, how simple it is. Just start. I mean, long time ago, you people thought, and you did need a lot of money to invest, but now you can buy a fraction of a stock for, gosh, less than you can buy a cup of coffee. So I want to have my co-host, Miss Ione McNeill, to turn on her camera and come on. We want to let all of our callers know if you have any questions. If you're listening in live on Facebook, please just type your questions in the Facebook chat, and we'll get the questions to Ellis and we'll answer those. If you're listening through Zoom, please put your questions in the chat. But I'm going to bring on one of your favorite fans, Ellis, Miss Ione McNeill, with the big smile. And Ione, if you would unmute yourself and welcome to the show as my co-host, Miss Ione McNeill.
Ellis, we love you, Ellis.
Well, thank you, Ione. The last time I saw you was just recently. You were at one of the local sessions here up in Fort Lauderdale, and I dropped in for something. I think I was delivering some books to the chapter or something, and Ione was there, and we wound up going to lunch with some of the folks there Yeah, remember? That wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah, we're always glad when you stop by our beginner investing class, hosted by Better Investing Southeast Florida chapter. We have a lot of those people from the class on this call listening to you now. Thank you for sharing how you got started, the mistakes you made, and also how easy it is to be a successful investor. So,
Well, I'm not, it's been a long time since I've even been involved in this, Ione. I've been out of the market for a number of years now because I'm not in a position where I'm earning money and I can't put in a little bit every week like the first rule is. Invest regularly. I can't do that. I'm pulling out regularly is what's happening. And so I'm not, I don't even hardly remember some of the important things that I, in those days, would have liked to and did pass on to people. So, yeah, I mean, you can probably stick me with some of these questions. I might not be able to answer them for you. So, anyway, time goes on, and here we are. Whoop, I've
right.
lost. There we go.
No, I'm here. I'm here. I just didn't want the nature sounds in the background, the birds and the wind, to interrupt you.
Well, I don't know. Anne, are you actually in San Francisco?
No, no, they're memories. Those are just memories in the background. But I think Bob Wynn had a question. We want to welcome Barbara Larson and Dorothy Fields and Jackie, Millie, and a lot of people, Bob Wynn, Yolanda, and a lot of people that are calling in to hear and share. But I do want to, Bob, if you want to turn your microphone on if you wanted to ask a question. I see you're making some comments in the chat, but Ellis would love to hear your voice, you and Millie both.
Well, thank you very much. I really don't have a question, but I did want to just acknowledge how wonderful Ellis Traub has been for me as a friend, as well as he's been a tremendous friend and supporter of Better Investing. And because I'm a part-time snowbird and go down to South Florida from time to time, when I went to visit Ellis and his wonderful wife, he insisted that he had a friend he wanted me to meet. And it was this woman named Ann McNeill. And he went through great lengths to put us in touch with one another. And now Ann and I are really good friends, and we are of like mind as far as wanting to literally liberate people's lives by empowering them with the means of investing in a way that is accessible and independent. And it's very much the better investing way. And this is a great opportunity to say thank you to Ellis, to Ann McNeill, and for how she is shepherding the next generation into empowerment through her own daughter and her grandson, whom I both claim as my godchildren now. And I just think this is a tremendous group of people who are on this call. And I look forward to this network expanding and being able to share and distribute this key knowledge that we know everybody needs to have in order to have an empowered life. So just thank you is all I have to say.
Oh, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. I mean, you and Ann were certainly the stalwarts at a very low ebb during the experience, the Better Investing experience. And if it hadn't been for you guys, well, I would have lost a lot of faith a lot earlier. So you guys kept me going, and I have to thank you. So it's kind of a self-perpetuating thing. It's kind of a circle. I mean, you help me, I help you. You help me, I help you. And so here we are. But Thank you for your kind words, Bob. I appreciate it. And I've been very grateful for your friendship as well over the years.
Thank
Ellis,
you.
Ellis, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you weathered the stock market downturn of the 80s when you were investing?
Yeah, I think during that period of time, this is where it helped me a great deal. I mean, the stock market downturn was a terrible thing, and it took an awful lot of guts, I think, for people to stay with the methodology, because when you look at what was happening in the market, why everybody was bailing out. In fact, even the stalwarts, people who were very active with the organization, were bailing out one by one. It looked like rats deserting a sinking ship. And so there were some of us that still decided that price doesn't matter, and that all that counts is that you follow the principles and invest only in high quality growth companies, and you just can keep up with it. And when the market turns around, you'll be there to enjoy the benefits of it. And so, fortunately, that happened with me. I can remember when was the .com bust? That was in
99, 2000.
99 to 2000, right? And I can remember at that time that everybody was selling everything, and I kept on going. And finally, at the turn of that end of the year, I'd been so busy watching everybody else what they were doing, but it was before the crash, and I was watching everybody else what they were doing and helping them, and I hadn't been tending my own business. I hadn't been looking at what I had. So when I did a stock study on all of the stocks that I had in my portfolio, I discovered every one of them was not up to the standards that we set. So I wound up selling everything and starting over. And the interesting thing was, because I sold everything, while I had the funds that were there, and when I put the money into new stocks, I got good quality companies. And the next thing you know, I remember, I don't remember the company I sold. I think it might have Cisco or one of those that was a real big winner. I think it was an 11 bagger, and I sold it. And 2 weeks after that, everybody was asking me, they were making fun of me. I said, they just say, how do you feel about selling this company? I mean, we've got, it's up to 115, and how do you feel about losing all that money? And I said at the time, I said, I feel just about the same as I feel about not owning any other stock I didn't own, because I didn't own it. So lo and behold, it had gone down. The market all of a sudden crashed. I was sitting there with good companies, and I invested just at the right time. But it wasn't. I mean, I can't. I'd like to say it was luck. I guess it was, but it was just the fact that we were holding true to the principles. And so all of the grand rapids that came around us and swallowed everybody up, we were like a rock sitting there. And all of a sudden, when the market came back, while I had all good stocks, and I got the benefit of all the growth that came when the market came back. So I was very fortunate. Hey, Al. I'm just looking at Al Malter just checked in. Good to see you. So that's the story. Did that answer your question?
It did. And I'm going to make a statement, and then I'm going to ask another question. Somebody else has another question. So when Ellis talks about the main tenets of better investing promotes a four-pronged philosophy. Number one, invest a small amount of money. invest a small amount of money regularly. Number 2, reinvest all dividends. Number 3, buy quality growth stocks at a valuable price. And number 4, diversify your investments to minimize risk. So
Right.
when Ellis talks about those principles, those are the 4 principles that he's speaking of. A quick question we have from back when we used to do SSGs by pen and paper, or pencil and paper, really, because it's a lot of erasing going on. Did you create the SSG, which is the stock selection guide, or did you just computerize it?
Oh, we just computerized it. I thought
Okay.
that was the thing to do. I didn't think that would sell. I didn't think that was going to be worth anything, because it seemed to me that the concepts were the things that were important. Ione. It was the concepts of I call it two-step. You know, what are the 2 things you need to know about a stock? You need to know its quality, and you need to know whether the price is reasonable. Well, what are the 2 things you need to know about quality? Well, it has to do with growth and management's ability to sustain that growth. And well, what does growth involve? Well, there's 2 things: sales and earnings. And what about it? Well, there's 2 things you have to know about that. Is it strong growth, and is it stable growth? If it's strong, why then your return is going to be good. If it's stable, why its predictability is good. So these are the basic issues, and the stock selection guide was nothing more than a means of implementing those principles, those concepts, as was software, as was anything else. In those days, it was very difficult to persuade people at NAIC or Better Investing. In fact, at first, there was a big rift between those who believed in using computers and those that said, no, you should never do that because you can't learn enough. I said, that's baloney. Learn the concepts, then you learn all that you need. Now you just use the stock selection guide printed form. If you got nothing else to use that to implement it. And here's how you do it. Well, once they knew the steps you're supposed to take, then you could just say, look at the guide. Here's where this step, here's where you see this step, here's where you see that. And so it made it very simple. So no, I didn't invent the stock selection guide. All I did was to convert it. And I swear, I thought that NAIC was crazy to want to just computerize a printed form. To me, that was kind of dumb. Seemed to me that if you bypass the things that were problematic, which you could do with the software, then the software would do most of the tedious stuff for you, and that was all there was to it. It was just a matter of implementing it. So this was a big thing between NAIC and the computer group was on one side, and the national board was on the other side, and it was just. And I never did. I don't think before I got inactive, I never did persuade people that the software was all you really needed because it did the tedious work for you.
But Ellis, I think now in hindsight, you did. And so we're here to say to you that it's working now, exactly what you were planning on 20, 30, 40 years ago. It is in effect now. And I think Bob and Ione and some other people are on that are volunteers would probably say almost 100%. Ione, what you say in terms of, yes, 100%, Bob. 100, and Bob, if anybody else want to chime in, is happening. Somebody just gave a message. Ione said better. Okay. All right, Ione, thank you so much. Ione's, for those of you that are listening, and Ione, Michelle, if you can put that in the Facebook chat, the chat that Ione just made. And for those of you that are listening live on Zoom, you can check the chat. Ione is making comments in the chat. And if you would like to say something, if you click where it says participants, you will see where your hand, it's a little blue hand to the left-hand side, right up underneath participants. You can raise your hand or you can unmute yourself and ask questions. Michelle, are there any other questions, Michelle, from the Facebook Live group? So I think she's given those questions. What I would like to share before we begin to go on the second phase, as a result of everything that's going on with the economy, we had planned to have what we call a financial empowerment conference. It was going to be held in Dallas in May. And Ione is at the 16th of May, I believe it was. Ione on the 16th of May. And the National, Better Investing National was going to have, and Better Investing Volunteers were going to have their conference also at the same time. But because of what's happening with the crisis, that is being changed. Better Investing is coming up with a different date. I think it's going to be in June. I'm not sure if Dean is on or anybody else is on that know that exact date. That's a volunteer. Barbara, you may know that date. But we're going to stick to the original date of May the 16th for our financial empowerment. And we're going to just do it on this platform on Zoom. So I'd like to encourage all of you to please chime in. Let us hear from you. If you're interested in participating, it's going to be a free day. It's called Financial Empowerment. And we will have probably 5 or 6 or 7 different presenters. Ione is going to be one. Jackie's going to be another presenter. And we're just going to have the same program. It is for anybody and everybody, regardless of what level of investor you are. And that's a part of this radio show, this podcast, this program we're hosting, this live feed. We want to make investing education available to everybody, because we started with absolutely nothing but a desire. And for years, still being a lot in debt, we would just invest $20, literally only $20. And Ellis and those helped us to learn how to start an investment club. And we went by, Ellis, if you would remember at our church, we went from one club, we started another club, and then another club and another club. And to date, we've probably helped over 20 different clubs. But I want to just make sure we talk a little bit about better investing. I'll tell you what we are not. We are not financial advisors. We are volunteers of an organization devoted to teaching amateurs to invest successfully, and having, after enjoyed a benefit of learning the methodology that Ellis is talking about, that he was so gracious for many years to help create. We have been volunteers for years and just volunteering our time to help teach. But eventually, going back to Ellis helped to start many chapters and help many chapters really become very, very, very effective in their methodology from using the software. So I just wanted to just share that, because I don't want people thinking that we're all of that in terms of, high-minded and all of that in terms of investors. Ione, I don't know if there's anything you want to add regarding better investing and just encouraging people of why it's important to invest and why it's important to join us on May the 16th. We will be sharing information in our Facebook page and in the email. But if you're interested, if you can just give us your contact information, you can put it in the chat and just let us know you're interested, and we'll make sure that we connect with you. So Ione, if you want to just share anything else.
Yes, I just want to say that we have a question I'm going to ask Ellis, but I am going to say this before the question. Wherever you are starting, the time is now. Now is always better than later. Start with what you have. Don't lament over what you don't have. We all had to start somewhere. Better Investing is the best starting point. It is a nonprofit organization dedicated to your investment education individually and through the use of investment clubs. So foundationally, Better Investing understands the power of how we can all work together to grow together and learn together. We are a nationwide organization. We were virtual before this pandemic. If you have questions and you want to, let's say, visit a an online club just to sit in and observe. We have model clubs all across the country online that you can log into. Drop us a line. We have in-person meetings generally, and when we get back to normal, we will resume in-person meetings. So collectively, this is the best organization to be a part of as you start your investment journey. Again, we will be hosting a morning 8:30 to 12:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. workshop on Saturday, May 16th, entitled Better Investing Financial Education. For all of you that want to start investing but feel like you need to put some fundamental financial building blocks together first, whether it be budgeting, whether it be understanding what your retirement account is. Do you have one? What is this mutual fund inside? How should I be setting financial goals? How should I be thinking about my future, my retirement, my kids, my grandkids? We're going to take all of those questions into account. Join us May 16th. We will be sending out a flyer. If you want to privately drop me your contact information, your email address, we will make sure you get that flyer, you get that invitation. And if you also want to send me your questions in advance, we can make sure that the presenters address your questions specifically. Oh, one of the surprise guests, I'm going to spoil the surprise.
No, don't spoil it. No, don't do it. 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 Don't. Nope.
Gotta do it.
No, please don't do it. Ione, you
Okay. Anybody over 50, we are having a surprise guest that's going to help you understand what that next phase of your life is. How do I take my own personal portfolio? How do I factor in what the government may be trying to, give to me? How do I read those questions? Whatever questions you have about that next stage of your life and planning out those details so you can answer, should I continue working? Should I work part-time? How much longer do I have to go realistically, and finally facing that thing you may have avoided all that time? We have a very special guest that will answer all of those questions. So please, again, join us Saturday, May 16th on Zoom, the Better Investing Financial Education Seminar.
What a tag team.
I also want to let people know, you can also ask to join our Better Investing Facebook group. If you want more information and you want to keep connected, we do have a group on Facebook. It's called Better Investing Southeast Florida Chapter. And want to thank Ellis and his crew for helping to grow that over the years. But just a little bit about the organization. We're the South Florida chapter of Better Investing, and it covers Gold Coast and the Treasure Coast and part of Southeast Florida, from Fort Pierce all the way down through the Keys on the south. And we have events, still have events, even though the situation is going on with the crisis. But let's talk about a little bit about the fact that what we don't do and what we're not. We don't deal in penny stocks. We don't teach buy and hold on margins. We don't teach technical analysis or chartering. We don't teach options trading. We're volunteers. And like Ellis shared, we've been taught by the best to have a heart and a spirit for people. One of the things we didn't talk about yet was the money, and the fact that, like I said earlier, we started investing $20. And when you think about what's happening in the market right now, you can buy a lot for $20. So we want to encourage you that you don't have to have a lot of money. But let's say you do have a lot of money. There's something for you to learn also. So I am just so excited to have Ellis and Bob, Ione, and all of you here, all of you who are listening to us. Please join our Better Investing Southeast Florida Chapter Facebook group. Let us hear from you. Comment in the group. Participate with us. But more importantly, decide to invest. Start now. Don't wait. But start by investing in yourself. Ione, Michelle, if we have any other questions, I really want to go back to Ellis and continue to just let him share, because we're just honored to have you, Ellis, share with us. And that's why we wanted to put this on live so that we can, right after we finish this, we're going to do a watch party. We're going to ask everybody who's listening, please go to your Facebook page, click watch party, and just share this with all of your friends. We're going to put the information. We do have a flyer, actually, Ione, the flyer that we use for Better Investing conference, and Michelle, that we were going to do on the 15th. We can actually go ahead and start sharing that flyer now. And then those people that want to register on Eventbrite, once they register, we can send them Zoom registration. So we can do that. It is a free event. And actually, that's exactly what we will do. So if you want to share screen, Ione, you can just pull up the Eventbrite from Better Investing. We're going to go back to Ellis, and yes, got to go back to Ellis.
I have a question for Ellis from a young older lady. She asked Ellis, is it too late to start if you are over 50 years old with limited funds? Is it realistic? So in your answer, please remind everybody what age you started at, and then also answer her question. Is it too late to start if you're over 50?
The answer to that question is no, it's not too late to start. Like I said, I was scared out of the market until I was in my mid to late 50s. And that's when I started. And I started behind the 8 ball. I'd lost everything. So up to a point, then when I retired, I did have some funds that I mean, the point is that you can, just by a little bit at a time, use those principles a little bit a fixed amount every month. If you're earning money at your age, if you're earning money and you're continuing to use money, then put that into your account and a little bit at a time. And I would suggest you use a folio broker. That's a broker that is willing to sell and purchase with increments, instead of by shares, by buying and selling it with the actual dollar value. The best one I know, and the one that I've used for years, is Folio FN, which is it's folioinvesting.com. And the beauty part of that is that if you put in $10 a week, you can say, okay, I want $10 worth of this, or I want $10 worth of that, or I want to put 10% of, if I got 10 stocks, I want to put a dollar each into each of those companies. So the beauty part of having folio investing is that you can do it that way, and not to have to worry about what happens to this surplus that you have if you buy so many shares and I didn't have enough to make a full lot. Yes, you can start investing in your 50s, and you'll make a good chunk by the time you're ready to use it. Does that answer your question, Ione?
Yes, that answers it. And I hope the young lady that's listening heeds your advice. I hope she heard you as well. Another quick question I have is from an investor. He is a little younger than that, but he just started investing about 3 years ago. He's been doing well. He asked the question, I have a stock, or I should say, Ellis, I have a stock as of today, and it's valued at 153% over the amount that I have paid for it. Should I sell half of the stocks and buy more from other companies, or just continue to ride the wave? I purchased this stock April 2018.
All right. Well, one of the first rules that I've had is don't let price influence your decision. Now, there's an exception to that, and that is if the price is so high, what that means is that you're ahead of schedule. You bought it with the idea that you'll make a 15% return on it over the next 5 years. And in the first year or second year, it's already grown at 2%. then my answer is you should never sell just half of anything. If there's a reason to sell it, then there's a reason to sell it all. If there's a reason to buy it, whether it's because it's disappointed, there's only, as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason to sell unless the quality of the company has changed adversely and that you no longer can expect it to perform the way it did when you bought it. Or if it's gone so fast, which this particular stock sounds like it did, then you should sell it all, take that money and put it into more than, this is your opportunity. Look at that as an opportunity to take all those funds and put it into stocks that have as good or better opportunity for increasing, but without the concern of the risk.
Thank you, Ellis. Actually, that's actually excellent advice, because that's the other one of the other principles we do speak about at Better Investing. We invest for the long term, and that's irregardless of price, but especially when we are doing well in the stock. One of the best pieces of advice that you can follow is it's not a bad company. So don't fear the stock price falling unless the fundamentals are flawed or have deteriorated over time.
Only long term is forever. Long term is forever. You're investing for the long term. You're going to invest in that stock unless one of those two things happen. Either it's so good, which means that the quality, and there's no urgency then to sell it, but it means that, in the old days, they used to say, well, if you can't find a stock that meets your qualifications, then leave it there. Well, I don't think so. I don't know. Cash is sometimes better than some of the investments you can get at, but the only time you really sell is if a company disappoints you, and then there's some urgency to it, and then you find the stock you want to put the money in and go right ahead and do it.
Thank you, Ellis.
All right, everybody, this has been phenomenal. We want to thank all of our listeners who are still listening in on Blog Talk, all of the listeners who are listening in on Zoom and on Facebook Live. So next we'll take this and we'll put it on YouTube. Ellis, I think you've created some very interesting people in Ione and I, and a lot of other people like Bob. So we want to go ahead and prepare to wrap up. And I know we have.
Want me to share the screen for
Yes. While I wrap up. Yes. Thank you. I'm just going to share the information about the registration. And we want to thank everybody for chiming in. Mr. Cooper, it's great to see you and your family. I don't know if you have any words that you want to share in the chat or come off mute. This is the information that is in the Eventbrite. So if you're interested in participating with us, we're still going to have this event. You can still register on Eventbrite. And once you register on Eventbrite, we will send you the Zoom registration information. So if you go to, Ione has the information here, and this is the link. Ione, we'll go ahead and also put the link in the Better Investing. We'll also, can you put the link in the chat? And if you're listening to us live, she's going to put this link in the chat here on Zoom. And we will also put the link in the chat on the Facebook Live. And for those individuals that are listening on the radio show, we'll make sure we get that information to you also. Just let us know how to reach you. I just want to thank you, Ellis. Thank you, Ione, Bob, Millie, everybody that chimed in with us. This has been a phenomenal experience. And of course, we are open for sponsorships. We can see that information there. But since it is going to be on this platform, it helps us to decrease a lot of expenses. And so if we were able to get any money for sponsorships, that would definitely go to our chapter to help support our local events for the youth, and also to the national organization to help defray some expenses for national. So Ellis, if you don't mind, would love to have you have some closing remarks. And Iona, you can just cut and paste that bit.ly link would be great and put it in the chat. Bob,
I just want to
Ellis,
say thanks. I've certainly enjoyed Old Home Week with all these people that are an important part of my past. Walter, I remember having lunch with you guys, with you and Ione when I first met you, and that was fun. Bob, it's such a joy to see you and Millie again. I always, I'll never forget your coming to Florida, and I look forward to seeing you again when you come down. Al, it's a pleasure to see you. It's been a long time, and I didn't hear much from you tonight, but it was nice to see you.
I wasn't sure how to get a chance in there.
Well,
oh, you got it now, Al. You got it now.
Just want to amplify something you said earlier, Ellis. When you were talking about Cisco and the fact that you sold it and received a tremendous amount of criticisms for it, I was on the blog list or the Better Investing list when that happened, and you explained it quite well. There was no way that that company could sustain the PE that it had going forward, and so you sold it. Received all the criticism, and you laughed all the way to the bank. I think that was the wonderful thing about it.
yep. So, no, I was fortunate, but my good fortune, it wasn't luck. It was because I got involved with NAIC and I learned what I learned. So it wasn't luck. It was just good common sense, and that's the fundamental thing about all this. When we realize that investing isn't gambling. The technical analysis is gambling. Betting on the stock market is gambling. All these brokerages that sell what they want to sell because there's something in it for them. It's like a big casino. They make money either way. The house makes money no matter what you do. But when it comes to what you do, your own best brokerage is you. And the best advisor is you. And all you need to do is learn these principles and apply them, and you'll do better than the professionals, because the professionals have limitations that nobody else has. I mean, they're not allowed to. I mean, it's because they're using other people's money. You're using your own money, so you can just use whatever your common sense tells you to do, and this is all common sense.
Wow, wow, wow. So Al, I'm so glad you were able to come off mute, Al, and turn your camera on. So thank you so much for your contribution. All right, anybody else before we prepare to wrap up? This has been a phenomenal opportunity to share and to listen to one of the greats. So thank you so much for that. Anybody else before we wrap up? If not, Ione, you have the pleasure of having the last words with that big, beautiful smile on your face.
And it is.
She's happy. She has her tribe here. She has her tribe. She's got Walter. She's got Bob. She's got you, Ellis. How much happier could she be? She has her BI volunteers. She's a happy lark, and
She has what we call a swaggy portfolio.
I didn't want to even talk about that, Bob. Yes. Ellis and the crew created what we now know as the baby billionaire. And so we'll leave it at that. And I think that she has such a message for young people. And we're really working with her and encouraging her to really use the gift that God has given her in her own story, which many of you heard a few weeks ago. But I really would like to publicly challenge her to create what we're calling the Baby Billionaire Kids Club.
Well,
and it's a club that helps kids learn how to invest.
There's an awful lot said about millennials these days. And millennials haven't had the benefit of us older folks, the things that we grew up with and learned. And it's kind of too bad. But Ione is living proof that if you're brought up well and you earn what you earn and you do what you do, and you're an entrepreneur, and you are willing to take the risks and do all those things yourself, while you can be successful, and on top of that, The thing that's lacking so much, unfortunately, with millennials these days is self-approval uh, but when you do things yourself, well, you're entitled to it, and you can be proud of yourself. And that's something that those who don't take the trouble to do these things don't have the benefit of it. So I wish you well with what you're doing. If you can get and drag a bunch of those millennials in with you and get them to grab your values and grab your ideas, why they'll be much better off for it, as will you.
Yes, well, thank you, Ellis. I do want to publicly say uh, I did post this on my Instagram account, which I just opened 2 weeks ago. That Ellis, thank you. You were one of my first teachers, only alongside Phil Keating. So I think just knowing you when I was really young, actually still in elementary school, um, you learned. I mean, you taught me so many valuable things. The first thing was that the fact that I was hanging around and, as you would call it, an old fogey like you, I had one up in the game because at an early age, you exposed me to investing. You and every other willing, loving, caring, supportive volunteer at Better Investing, Irvin Roth, Phil Keating, um, just everybody. So, number one, thank you for having me around when I was younger. Thank you for telling me to start now, and that just by starting now, I had a head up on you. Thank you for telling me that starting small was the best way to go. I started with NAIC's low cost investment plan, where I literally was buying one share of stock in a lot of the companies that I knew as a kid: Kellogg's cereal, Wendy's, Home Depot, Pfizer. Thank you for being a large part of our Southeast Florida chapter, for hosting the Edu Fairs with us. I get to meet so many wonderful representatives of investor relations department, of corporations. I think I'm still in touch with the Jay Ernst, who was the investor relations department director for Procter and Gamble, which helped me to buy my first share of stock in Procter and Gamble. So I'm on this call to listen to you again, to encourage everybody older than me, younger than me, that just getting started is the best thing you could do. Don't beat yourself up about what you don't know. As long as you join in with us at Better Investing, you give yourself some time, you will master this game. All you need to know is the fundamentals. And literally, if you heard what Ellis said tonight, that's it. Those four core principles of better investing, understanding when to sell and really when not to sell, um, fundamentally just allowing yourself to let your money work for you by, investing in shares of companies that you're already consumers of, letting capital appreciation, price appreciation, dividends work for you. Thank you, Ellis, for sharing your time with us this evening. We really did, enjoy and appreciate everything you bestowed upon us.
Well, thank you. You know, you can see I'm blushing.
Aww.
Oh, me too. That's what these are.
Wonderful I had the opportunity to do this. I'm still volunteering these days, even at age 90 or coming up 90. I work with SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives. So I'm spending my time with people who are looking to be entrepreneurs, and a lot of what I learned with NAIC and about how companies work has helped me to help other people to start new companies.
Yes.
And earn a living as well. So this has been a wonderful experience for me in every respect. And knowing you, Ann, and Bob and Ione and so on, all of you people, has just been a thrill for all of my life. Thank you, or all of my adult life.
Yeah, I wanna wrap up with this, and it's a story that I hope uh, everybody will take to heart. And I didn't get Ione permission to share it, but seeing that I have executive privilege over birthing her, if you were to ask me, if anybody were to ask me, what was a defining moment for me in this experience, and I know you may already know this, Ellis, but I really want to quantify what this looks like, because so often we hear about long-term investing. We hear about investing small amounts over a long period of time. Start now, just don't quit. But what does it really look like? I really would like to show you the face of what it looks like. I came home from work one day, and Ione greeted me. It's about a year or so, and she said she was very excited. She came with an envelope. Ione, you right, remember this, and you can finish the story if you choose. And she said, "Guess what? Guess what? Guess." I said, What's going on?" She said she opened up. I don't know if you remember this, Ione. You open up an envelope, and you said, "Look, I have not reached 30 yet, and I just hit six figures in my personal portfolio." And that was a turning point for me. She was so excited for herself in following through everything you said, all of the other volunteers, because you showed her the value, time, money chart that said that if you start at 15 years old, remember that, and you just invest in your retirement, and if you just start small with investing in your personal investments,
The magic,
diversify.
magic of compounding.
The magic of the power of compounding. And she believed it. Not only did she believe it, she did it. And the biggest part of this story for me is not about the money. It really is not about the money. It is about who and what we become in the journey. And what I watched as a mom, I watched a person that I know a little on this journey. I watched her shift. You see, because before then, it was walking by sight, going on what everybody said. But when she got that mail and she saw that she had hit her goal before the age of 30, I saw her take on a new vigor. I saw her take on a new life and a new commitment to serve the least, the lost, and the unconcerned people about the power of investing and the power of investing education. She became more committed in volunteering with the chapter. She became more committed in studying more. She became more committed in sharing more. And Walter, you know, I'm telling the truth. You can shake your head because you're one of her students, you and your whole family. And I just want to thank you, Ione, for putting the fire up underneath all of us. And Ellis was right on target when he talked about the millennials. You see, millennials are not going to hear our voice, Ione. They're only going to hear your voice. And so what we want to do tonight before we leave here, we want to thank you, yes, for your past, yes, for your present, but we want to thank you in advance for the future service you're going to provide to all of the people who are yet unborn, you see, because by the time you get to Ellis' age, see, you didn't maybe not have realized when you were starting that baby billionaire brand while you were in college, but that brand has such power. That brand is who you are, because none of us can have your story. You are a real live, like Ella said, you're an example of what it looks like. You know, we hear about it, we read about it in the book, but you are the face, Ione, of what that looks like. So I just want to just thank you and really challenge you to really just continue to walk in the spirit of service. And so with that, I want to thank all of you for joining us. This has been phenomenal. We will be back here every Wednesday, God willing, and life lasts and the breath. We want to stay safe, and we want to be mindful and thankful for the service that people like Ellis and Iona, we have to have Phil on, and hopefully we'll have Irvin on, because these, you know, we didn't have this platform, Ellis, years ago when all of that teaching was taking place. But we do have it now that we can continue to share all of you and your voice with the world. So we want to thank all of you for chiming in. We did go as long as we needed to go. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. We're going to thank all of our live stream people who are listening in, Michelle for helping us with the producer, and everybody who's still on the radio listening in. We're going to go ahead and wrap up and ask you, please continue to join us. And if you'd like to share your investing story, because everybody has a story, please let us know. You can reach me at annmcneill.com. You can reach me. I don't have a problem in giving my phone number out, Ione. If you type my number in the chat, I would give it out. And I live on text. I'll say that. My number is 786-546-0184. 786-546-0184. And I would also encourage you to just continue to invest and connect with Bet Investing. Actually, Bet Investing has Iona was sharing a 90-day free membership. So please go to betterinvesting.org. They have a 90-day free membership. Take advantage of it. It costs you absolutely nothing to learn and to earn. So with that, we're going to say good night to everybody, and we will see you next week. All right. Bye.
All right, Ellis.
Right.
All right. Thank you.